I'm Ted Keys in Pasadena, California. Welcome to my Tuesday conference call, a free high-powered meeting I hold live every Tuesday for top producing freight agents. Go to tedkeysonline.com for complete call information. Then join us weekly to see new, serious, struggling, and experienced sales professionals move more freight efficiently, effectively, effortlessly, and make more money financially. So watch my recorded call topic highlighted there on your screen right now. When you're finished, go to tedkeysonline.com and hear more podcasts. Read more blog posts, watch more videos, and while you're there, visit my Freight Sales Success Store for top-notch freight moving products to explode your business today. Enjoy watching and applying my Tuesday conference call.
Hello and welcome to my Tuesday conference call, everybody. I'm Ted Keys, your top freight agent training expert here in Pasadena, California. This is a free high-powered meeting I hold live every Tuesday for top producing freight agents at 2 p.m. Pacific time and 5 p.m. Eastern time. On the call today, we're going to show you how to move more freight efficiently, effectively, and effortlessly so you make more money financially. And after the call, go to my website, tedkeysonline.com, to hear more of my podcasts, read more of my blog posts, watch more of my videos, and while you're there, visit my Freight Sales Success Store for top-notch freight moving products to explode your business today. When you get to my Freight Sales Success Store, you will see a number of products available there. First product you'll see is my flagship product. That's my Freight Sales Success Guide for typically beginner and struggling freight agents. If you're searching for that daily motivation to get on the phone, pick up the phone, make contact with the marketplace, then opt for my Freight Sales Success Quotes. And if you're searching for those specific skills, there are many different skills required to be successful in this profession, then opt for my Freight Sales Success Skills. All these products available at my Freight Sales Success Store at my website. And while you're there taking in all this free information, go to my contact page. Just click on the contact link, go to the contact page, and enter your contact details. By doing that, you're going to not only receive your weekly email invite to this and every call, you're also going to receive the free attachments that I provide on each and every call. Also, by doing that, you'll also receive my free report, 11 Ways Freight Agents Will Increase Their Income. And if you have any questions today about the call, then give me a call. However, if you have any questions, and specifically, are you ready to join our top producing freight sales team, then give me a call, Ted Keys. I'm at 626-309-9141. Today, I have a tremendously special guest joining us on the call today. He's my freight sales expert guest, David Tass Rodriguez. David, you're calling from Red Hook, New York. Is that correct?
Yes, my office is in Red Hook, but I'm actually calling in from the Jersey Shore today.
Okay, awesome. Just, hey, Dave, speaking of that, why are you calling from the Jersey Shore today?
Well, as we quickly discussed earlier, Ted, in this industry, it's really important to maintain customer relationships and, grow those relationships. And so one of my customers mentioned that she was going to be out here working in Jersey near the shore this week, and we figured, what a great opportunity to bring the family down and spend some time in the sun on the beach, and also get some face-to-face time with our customer and take her out for a little bit. So, it's kind of the blessing in being able to do that in this industry, and also, be able to travel and be mobile.
Let's face it, David, one of the great things about our profession is that we determine our hours. Would you agree with that?
And it's a tough day at the office when you're looking at the ocean.
It is.
I take phone calls on the golf course. I'll take phone calls on the beach. Opportunity knocks, and when she knocks and you don't answer, it doesn't mean she's coming back the next day. So, it's one of those things where I found that being available is the biggest asset.
Absolutely. Dave, you golf?
Just with LDI was my first exposure to it, and
Okay.
we had a blast this past golf tournament that they host up there in Buffalo.
Dave, give us a little rundown. What's your experience as a freight sales professional? How long you been doing this? First of all, when did you start?
Yes, I started in this industry a little over 4 years ago. I knew nothing about it. I came from theater arts background. Was an actor and director.
Theater arts, is that correct?
Yep. Acting on stage. I worked for New York State Theater Institute and another small SPT6. And there was no way to have a family. And a friend of mine introduced me to the industry, and I learned everything not to do. He brought me in as into what was I term a boiler room chop shop type of operation, where we would go in and we had, it was interesting, before the call you were fielding some questions, and I heard someone saying with your system in 30 days you moved a load, and in this environment, if you hadn't moved a load in 3 days, you'd be gone. It was an assembly line chop shop situation where we learned everything not to do. And they would go in with no customers and no trucks and, post equipment and grab freight from other brokers. And so now I can spot it real quick. But it was one of those things that didn't last very long. It was being done all the wrong way. And I was hired on by a guy who ran asset trucks. And I learned that side of the industry. And I learned what it takes to maintain equipment and to keep drivers happy and paid and getting enough hours and enough miles. And what it is to lease new equipment versus maintain old equipment, and whether you're running day cabs or over the road, and how much money you need to keep coming in to cover the baseline overhead for these trucks. And as we were, starting to see the struggles of that, he wanted to kind of develop his brokerage side. And so we were trained in a lot of the videos that Ted has out. We were actually told to watch in that office. And other LDI training videos that were made available through YouTube and whatnot, where we grabbed as much information as we could and kind of gave ourselves Sales 101 and tried to think outside the box. And we knocked down a few really good accounts. And we do a lot of seasonal stuff, and we were doing very, very well. And me and two other guys in a basement office in a little town outside of Red Hook, New York, did $8.6 million in sales in 2014. And the business kept growing and growing, and because of whatever factors, he decided to let me go, and I was blindsided by it. I had no idea. I thought we were in a happy marriage, and he let me go, and so I was going to leave the industry altogether. I said, well, I tried my hand at it, and it was crazy, and I came in, and then I learned a lot, but through that, I think the bottom line was, I learned to be available and to tell the truth, and because of that, my phone started ringing. And that whole week, I was getting phone calls from customers saying, please tell me you're going to keep servicing our accounts. Please tell me I don't have to, start over again. And I said, honey, what do you think it would take for us to do this? And then another customer of mine invited me down to a job site where they were taking down 8 buildings, and he said he had 60-something loads of construction demolition that he wanted removed and wanted me to handle it, and he'd give me an MC number that he had, and it was a brand new. I could have, my full run of it. And I said, before I jump at that amazing offer, let me at least consider the options. And then I spoke with some folks at England, and I spoke with the folks at LDI, and we felt really, really the most comfortable and the best fit with the folks at LDI. So we came on a little over a year ago. We filed the Articles of Incorporation and became our own S Corporation based out of New York State, Kathy Lee Incorporated. And we have been cranking away. We were, I guess, with LDI a little over 6 months, and we were awarded the Bronze Buffalo. And
Dave, what was it specifically about LDI that appealed to you?
What I liked the most about LDI, and I think the reason we were drawn to them, was their love of technology. I grew up with the evolution of video games and computers, and these guys are all about it.
So you see the value in that. You see the value in that.
Yes, it's incredible. And every time we turn around and they add a new feature or tweak a a feature where, like, we kind of do a little celebration dance. We're like, wow, did you see how great that was? The updating insurance now, that's just fantastic.
Absolutely.
And the fact that we have input in that, and that we can make the software request tickets, and we can give feedback at the conferences and whatnot, and that we see that stuff materialize. It's not just table talk. These guys put it into action, and the mobile app, I got to tell you, when they sent me over that demo, I didn't care that England was asset backed. I didn't care that they were everywhere in America. It was, I saw that as such a value add that replaces so much time, probably a full-time job, really, for somebody, because, like I said, we like to travel a lot. We're mobile all the time. I spent a month in South Florida and then 3 weeks in Puerto Rico in the wintertime, and then we're traveling back and forth. We just got back from Puerto Rico again. We were looking for a house down there. So it's nice to know that I've got in my pocket LDI freight, or some version of it at almost all times.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And obviously this is a system, as you just talked about, you can take it with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's with me all the time, and if I'm not within an area, I have a hotspot I keep with me. And
right. When you spent a month in South Florida, David,
mm-hmm.
were you working, covering loads?
Oh, yeah, all the time. I was actually applying for a mortgage, and the bank officer wanted to know, if my traveling to the U.S. was contingent on my generating revenue, and I said, I'm working in your lobby. So
interesting.
I said, I just covered a load in your lobby, and another one while we were parking the car. I mean, last summer when we had first come on, my wife and I reveled in the fact that when we decided to spend a week down here at the shore, and on the car ride down, we covered enough freight to pay for the entire trip and all of our dinners, and it was just, kind of tremendous.
And do you work with your wife?
Yes, my wife and I are a team. I always tell people I'm the muscle and she's the brains.
Absolutely.
She is, her OCD is such a value add to our business as well, because, every T is crossed, every I is dotted. She gets on me about, why isn't this rate con uploaded? How come there's not a reference number in the customer billing reference field? And one thing I have to say, the other brokerage I was with before, they did a lot more hand-holding. So they would catch a lot of these little mistakes and things, that really amount to just kind of complacency and laziness. But they would do a lot of that, and so I was kind of spoiled. And here, it's much more important that you're all over your accounting. And so we do that and help expedite them, and, we're meticulous to make sure that everything is ledgered. I don't do a single load that doesn't get printed and written on and stapled together and filed, and it works its way through my folder system. From the time that it's been available freight until it's covered freight in transit until it's delivered and ready to bill.
Awesome.
And then it gets filed. Once it's paid out, I can mark it in my ledger that it was paid, and if there's anything off, we can say, hey, how come this one is off by $50? What's going on? And it's not just this kind of catch-as-catch-can,
got it,
shooting from the hip style brokerage that I've seen happen a lot of places.
Okay. Enough. Let's digress to you personally. Do you serve a particular industry?
I do, and I think a lot of that happens just because of who you happen to be prospecting, and what happens to work out, and then you learn. Just like my previous life as an actor, if I was cast as an FBI agent, then I need to learn all about the FBI and what those guys do, and if I'm cast
Absolutely.
as a doctor, the same thing applies. And so here it's similar. Right after Hurricane Sandy, our area was, tremendously affected. There was a lot of freight that needed to get moved for FEMA, and particularly a lot of refuse and debris that needed to come out of Long Island and New Jersey from the storm. And so I hooked up with this guy who did, and at first it was coming from another brokerage who dropped the ball on it, and basically this guy contacted me because he knew we were getting all the trucks for him. And we developed a relationship, and he does a lot of garbage and recycling year-round, but certainly during that time it was coming out of his ears and he needed help. And I was there for him when he really needed it, and now as a result, he's one of our biggest accounts, and it's a low margin, high volume type of customer. I mean, there's days I'll cover 25 loads for this guy, on a busy day, and, we don't make a ton of money on them. We'll make $150 a load, $130 a load, but they add up when you're doing 20, 25 of them real quick.
Yep.
And they're zero value. We don't have to worry about insurance claims. We don't have to worry about, any of that kind of stuff because they're garbage going to the landfill.
Yeah, I was going to say you don't get insurance claims because
right,
if
and even
something
as
happens,
much as it's still a nightmare, there's not as much track and trace involved
Yeah.
as well because either a guy once he picked it up, it's he probably saved my customer money if he didn't deliver it. But we did find that by not being on top of these guys and getting them to build our loads, I had literally over 200 loads in transit at one point that were just kind of in limbo because trucks were either missing paperwork or losing scale tickets and just not invoicing them, going out of business. Whatever the case was, get paid by their factoring company and then never submit the proper paperwork. And so all this stuff was kind of in limbo until we started really going through and kind of holding their hands and taking it through the steps, just like you would with any other freight.
So again, it's not just one customer in this industry. Do you serve a number of different customers? What do you call this industry? The garbage industry? The refuse industry?
I guess they call it, there's a few different sides of it as well. There's basically 3 triangles to it, and we kind of dabble in all of them, but mostly what they call baled recycling or baled waste, which is paper and plastics compressed into tight square blocks, banded and baled, and headed to the landfill. They look like giant bales of hay made out of paper and plastic. Sometimes they're really nasty. I've had guys call me and tell me they had rats in their load. So we vet the guys when they call. We don't try to sneak anything by anyone. We tell them right off the bat, hey, it's a load of trash. Do you haul garbage?
So that's the first thing that comes out.
Going to the landfill.
Yeah, Dave, that's the first thing that comes out of your mouth when people call on your loads.
That's it.
Hey,
that's a load of garbage.
You haul garbage.
Stuff. Right.
Yeah. Because other than that, if they don't, it's not worth even going through the load. So really, that's just becoming more efficient in what more efficient in your system there. So hey, first question out of your mouth: do you haul garbage? Yes or no?
Right. Same thing if you have an expedited load. The first question is, where are you? Are you empty? Where are you? I don't want to know anything else once you have my load except where are you? Because if the phone drops, then all the other stuff that came before that, I didn't really need to know. Where are you?
Got it. So let's talk about your just getting started in the industry. Now, did you gravitate to garbage?
No,
was it just one of the many contacts that you called initially?
It was one of the things I think because we started doing it, kept turning us on to other people. I then turned it into I was running it power only. I took a dozen trailers from this other guy who did it, who didn't have enough drivers or power units to move all the garbage that he had access to. And in New Jersey, they have these weird rules about it being you have to have a 901 permit, and there has to be a 901 company of record. So different districts control different counties, whatever. It's from old school. And so these guys all would introduce you because you're all helping the same. They need to get the stuff cleared out, and they sell to each other. Because the other side of it is the stuff that's sorted out. They're selling, barge loads of it over to the Chinese who pick through it, and then whatever they don't want comes back. So there was a lot to learn, but then there's other guys that are doing this, these companies that are doing trash to energy, and they're trying to convert garbage to energy and electricity. And there's guys that are doing, memory foams and rubbers and all different types of resins and polys. And then that introduces you to the chemical industry and what they contribute to it and get from the plastics. So there's a lot of sides to it, and it just kept, like you said, referrals and people saying, oh, hey, this, that, and the other. That became the bulk baseline, But then we also do, U.S. mail, which is our biggest margins and biggest, home run type of accounts and loads. However, it's when you look at them side by side, I love LDI has that tool, that dashboard thing with the widgets. And it's amazing. We look and we're like, wow, as huge as that customer is and as massive as we always consider them to be, that I always equate it to if you own a bar, who's the more valuable customer, the guy that comes in every single day and spends $25 at your bar, or the guy that comes in once every 3 months and drops $250 like a big shot, It's that guy that comes every day, and so we started to line up with, we got our priorities in the wrong place. We really need to service this industry. A lot of people look at it and they say, oh, the margins are terrible. Most of the carriers don't want it. But then there's this huge percentage of guys that do. That becomes their niche, just like guys that haul cars. That's what they do.
Hey, Dave, let's face it. Would you agree or disagree that every industry has its pluses and minuses?
That's right. When I always look at it as it's a very safe commodity. It's one of those things like toilet paper. There's always going to be garbage.
Absolutely.
Toilet paper is another one I always use.
So garbage will be never ending. I mean, if there's an economic slowdown, we're still going to produce garbage, aren't we?
That's right. That's right. And when it speeds up, it just picks up right along with it. So it's also somewhat seasonal. When it's freezing cold and minus 20 over here, they're afraid to put it in vans because it gets frozen into the trough, and they try to empty it on the tipper, and it's just a nightmare.
Yep. But hey, if it's not that, something else is going to get loaded into their trailer and it's going to be frozen.
That's right.
I mean, provided they can be frozen. So a beginner freight agent approaches you, Dave, and says, where should I start? What industry should I start? What advice would you give him?
I mean, my biggest thing is about time. That's our biggest tool in this industry, and so I say get up early, hit it hard. When we were first starting, we didn't have anything. We had to start getting customers in there for LBI and moving people over. It was about get on the phone, send those emails, follow up with the emails, send a care package, think outside the box. Is always, good. I mean, we had a guy I had done some business with him in the past, but as we transitioned over, there really wasn't anything happening. They hadn't done the setup yet. We were really kind of counting on them to get started, and they hadn't come through, and then we sent them to a football game, and they came through. So
you sent them to a football game, and that's what got them to take action.
There you go.
Okay, but going back, really, what specific advice would you give to a starter or somebody that's struggling in the industry?
I mean, I would say it's for me, it was important when prospecting in the very beginning to not cast this huge wide net, to not just be sending these blanket, please give me freight type of emails or phone calls, that I would look at a region or a season or a lane or whatever it was, so I could be a lot more specific and just work within that niche until I got a little something going. Because, like I said before, it was all catch as catch can. We didn't know what we were doing. We were grabbing freight from whoever, wherever, moving commodities we didn't know anything about.
Right. And that's,
so
Dave, let's face it, that's typical when you start. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
I mean, when you're starting,
you need to pay the bill.
You grab at whatever's out there.
That's right. That's right. Okay. And I think that, for me, it was always about letting people know, look, I may not be the guy that comes in with the best price. I may not be the guy that comes in with the newest, flashiest equipment, but I am going to be the guy who always answers your phone call. I am going to be the guy who always calls you back and returns your messages and lets you know what's going on with your freight. And I am going to be the guy who always tells you the truth. Those things I can stand behind 100% of the time. I'm going to be available to you, and I'm going to tell you the truth. And those things go so far in this business, because almost any customer that's worked with a broker has been burned by a broker. Just like they've been burned by a truck. There's nobody who's been doing this long enough that hasn't been burned by either or both. Because, like you said, let's face it, there's people who are just not ethical.
Dave, we've been burned by our customers, too.
Sure. We had actually a really good one. There's a company out there called Green Sneakers that they had all these great loads, and they were collecting sneakers for homeless children. What kind of noble? Okay. Yeah, they were called Green Sneakers, and we looked them up, and they said, they collect sneakers, donations of sneakers and shoes for homeless children. Like, this is incredible. And they pay great. So we were all over them, and then they burned us for about $25,000. The whole thing was a scam.
Yep.
So, you do have to be careful, and like you said, you do have to do your homework. If this was easy, everybody would do it.
And good point. Hey, if this was easy, everybody would do it. Let's face it. Initially, this is not easy. Would you agree?
Absolutely not.
And unfortunately,
unless you know somebody hands you, a book of business to work on, or they say, hey, look, here's an account, blah, 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 and you start off as a dispatcher who's, being led kind of along the growth process, then maybe, but there is really no easy, even then, that's a grind. I mean, because you're not going to be seeing a lot of that money.
Mm-hmm. A lot of truck drivers come to me saying, "Hey, I'm ready to go," and I just know that they've been, out there, in their industry driving, and they hear the buzzword about how much money freight agents and freight brokers make. Let's face it, the good ones do make very good money. Would you agree?
Yes, absolutely.
But nobody just steps into this profession and starts, rolling in the dough.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
You don't tap into the money tree, that's for sure.
There's no money tree. I mean, if there's a money tree, it's because you've created the money tree.
That's right.
Yeah. So let's go back to your specific industry. So when you started, Dave, you were calling everybody. It just so happens that you now specialize in trash.
Yes. As a primary. I mean, I would say that, and it's diversified to some of the seasonal stuff, but people are like, oh, what do you do? It's like trash and yogurt. They say, that's a crazy combination. Yeah, but that's what came through, It could just as easily have been steel, you know what I mean, or hay, but it isn't. It's just what it happens to be now, and we're constantly prospecting, so who knows? Next week it might be seafood, Ted.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've said this many times before. When I got into this profession, I was raised on a farm in southern Wisconsin. So what did I know? I knew feed. I knew animal feed. So what do? I start calling feed stores. That's somewhat of the point I was attempting to make earlier. For those that are beginning, struggling, don't know where to go with what you know.
And that also go with what you know, and go with who you know, what who you know knows. I don't know how to say that correctly, but so many people don't realize, even through casual conversations I've had with family and friends, who are like, hey, I know this guy who works for this place, blah blah blah, and they sure ship a lot of truckloads of the, And so I tell anybody, anytime a conversation like that comes up, like, you want a piece of that business? Would you like some of that? Like, put me in touch, get me to sit down. I'll bring home I'll close the deal. You know what I mean? But get me the appointment, get me in there, and I'll give you a taste of it every single time one of those loads closes out.
Or let's say to Dave, just get me the contact.
That's it.
Get me the contact. Boy, when you got the contact and a telephone number, I mean, the rest is a process. I'm not going to say it's
well,
easy,
and that's what I always tell. We just recently brought my brother in, and I told him, there's two sides of this thing, and there's music and there's math. I say, the relationship with the customers and with the trucks, that's music, and it goes a lot of different ways, and you can play it at different rhythms and, for different moods, for different things. But when it comes to LDI freight, that's math, and that's either right or it's wrong. And when it comes to analytics, that's math. So, we do have to appreciate both sides of that, and in this industry, we have to use left brain and right brain when it comes to that. Is this going to save them money and time, and what is my time worth? How much of a grind am I going to put into this when I could be, cranking away and on something else that's going to actually generate a return? Or do I divide my time, because this prospect could be tremendous, so I want to work on it a little bit each day or each week, and slot in some time for it, but I can't let it eat up enough time that it's taking away from my moving freight. Because, like you say, at the end of the day, if it's not in the ledger, it's not getting paid out. If we don't move freight, we don't make a paycheck.
Excellent point, David. Excellent point. As you know, you were advised to watch my videos several years ago when you first came into the profession. Hey, I mean, I could definitely spend my whole day moving loads and make a whole lot more money. But this is something that I do. It's half of what I do, But in order to keep the bills being paid, I've got to move. I've got to keep moving loads and stay in contact and keep building relationships with my customers. So excellent point. I mean, yeah, we've all got a prospect because, hey, Dave, let's face it. Would you agree? Our customers will stop. They'll stop dealing with us one day.
Yeah, eventually people move. One of my greatest contacts, I thought this guy, I'd be working with him for a long time. He was young. One day I called and he didn't work there anymore. And
All of
his
a sudden,
email was shut off.
all of
I
a
got a
sudden,
bounce
out of
back
the
on his
blue.
email, and then I got a phone call response because they saw that the email had been kicked out. And they told me that he no longer worked there, that he had gone to work for a competitor. And, I kind of cautiously, after a little bit of time had passed, tried to reach out to him through social media and, cell phone, kind of like, hey, if there's any opportunity for us to continue to do business together, hate to lose this relationship. We had a good thing going, blah, blah, blah. Wish you the best of luck at your new position, so on and so forth. And it's been crickets. And nothing bad happened. There was no falling out. It was nothing but great service. This was a guy that would call me at 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon because he needed something.
Yep.
And I knew that meant, big dollars because they pay for that kind of service.
Yep. But that also meant that if you're going to keep moving freight for that company, you've got a whole
Right. And luckily, there was other relationships that have been forged that I was able to pivot, and we continue to work with them. They are slow, and they, at one time were a tremendous account, and now they're, much slower. But we continue to cultivate it and let them know how much we appreciate their product. And that's another thing starting out that I would go at guys with rather than, hey, you got freight I can move, hey, I got trucks, the same thing they've heard 40,000 times in different variations, is tell them about, what a fan you are of their product.
Mm-hmm.
I raised my daughter on your yogurt. It's always in my refrigerator.
Wow.
That kind of things are tell them, we're huge fans of your product. Would love to be involved in some way in helping you grow your business.
Mm-hmm.
Because then they're looking at you as a value add in terms of a partner relationship as opposed to yet another contractor looking for a check.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Dave, any other advice that comes to your mind if you were to give it to a beginner or struggling freight agent?
Get up early, get up early. Watch the news, look at commodities that are moving, pick something, some niche or something either you know about or somebody knows about, and find out about it. How does it move? Who's moving it? A lot of these bigger brokerages even will give you a taste of their business if you are good at what you do because it's too much for them and they don't want to lose the account. I personally have worked with other brokers on stuff that I know they're brokering the freight, but I need their help.
Mm-hmm.
So that stuff's out there.
Mm-hmm.
Even if that's a way to start, if, somebody at Robinson is going to give you some loads or whatever that you got to weigh in,
Yeah.
And I use freight as my alarm clock. It's a great way. You talk about what the motivation to get up and get on the phone. I post loads that I know are going to ring those phones early in the morning, and that's what I wake up to.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take the first few phone calls from bed. And if, then a guy's ready to get set up or wants a load, then I'm up and I'm working. And now
When do you start every morning, Dave?
My phone usually starts ringing about 6:30 in the morning Eastern time. I mean, once in a while I get those random guys that are like, hey, I didn't know anybody was going to answer. Like, well, you called at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Uh-huh.
But the loads are refreshing. I mean, at any given time I have, 35 to 40 loads posted, so they're calling on something. And it's just me, my wife, and my brother now who just recently started with us answering those calls. So if we don't get them, they're on to the next phone number on the list. But part of what our value add is that, we're a 24-hour business. And if somebody needs something or we need to make ourselves available to them.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that freight, I would say if you don't have that freight that's going to ring the phones yet early in the morning, then maybe you're testing a lane. Maybe you want to see what is that freight that rings the phone early in the morning, and then you want to go after that. That would be my advice.
Yeah. So basically, Dave, be aware. Be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of what's going on. I would say this though: do not watch the news and get caught up in the drama and the chaos that's going on.
For sure.
Okay.
For sure. But a lot of things like that, you'll see the Flint, Michigan thing, for example. I saw it was going to the water crisis, and so I wrote a letter to the governor's office and just quickly said, hey, we understand there's a tremendous crisis going on, and if we can help out with any inbound or outbound shipping needs, please take advantage of us.
You wrote
and,
to,
we ended up on
What's that? You wrote to the governor of Michigan?
Yeah, and we got added to some blanket list as if we had been affected by the toxic water and what they were going to do about it, and I still get emails from them once in a while. But it was worth a shot, you just never know. Yep. I had spent 8 months trying to get set up with FEMA, and I finally got in, and they gave me this bid package that took a week and a half to complete.
I bet.
And, I never got a single load from them. But that stuff is out there. I mean, you can grind away on dead ends forever. I got a buddy who's been working on this container gig that's supposedly going to make him $1 billion for 8 months, and he's not moving any freight. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things that got to divide the time so that there's something out there, and once you find that niche, or something you can be available to, if it's not enough of your own, then get somebody that you can help them co-broker some of their freight so that you at least have a check coming in and you can be comfortable. And then your prospecting gets a lot better because you're in a better mood. You're eating.
Yep. Nothing comes easy. Nothing comes easy.
Right.
If it does, something's wrong. Now, granted, if it comes easy, let's face it, if it comes easy, you're not learning a whole lot. You're not learning too much. It's like the shipping decision maker that you called up, you got through, you got on his freight list, just like that. In a way, that's a good thing, but in a way, it's not. Why? Because he takes everybody's call, which means he's going to have 1,000 guys on his freight list.
Right. I just had that happen to me, actually.
You almost want that little challenge because it's going to test your skill level.
It's funny you actually say that, because I got a call from Canistra that, hey, during my lunch break, I got a voicemail from a gal who does what you guys do and is moving garbage, recycling, something like that, and she's got 200 loads a month. You should give her a call. I called her up. She was so happy to hear from me. We scheduled a meeting. I drove down the next day and saw her. One of the owners were there. I mean, it was like a dream meeting and almost hugs at the end. I mean, these guys were like thrilled to have us and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And they use brokers as a rate indexer, and they do this blind. They get anybody and everybody with an MC number and a heartbeat set up, and they send out these quotes, and it's like the best rate by such and such time is going to get it. There's no personality. I said, you guys spent 45 minutes telling me how what you were looking for was service. Yeah. And that's not how you get service. Like, when was the last time the cheapest meant the best? Yeah. And I told him, I said, I will never promise anybody to be their cheapest option. Like, you want to be the cheapest, you go right ahead. It just never means good. It's never associated with anything good. That kind of thing is, you're right. It was very, very easy to get the account. They were real gung-ho to work with us, but there's no money in it.
Something's up when something is too easy. Hey, Dave, are you up for a little Q&A?
Sure, go for it.
Excellent, okay. For anybody, again, Dave, let's face it, Dave has provided a tremendous amount of information today, and again, this is free, guys. If I was listening to this call here, I would have a ton of questions to ask Dave. Well, here's your opportunity. Who's got the first question for Dave? First question for Dave. Again, you've been at this now for 4 years, Dave?
Yeah, a little over 4 years now.
Okay. First question for Dave. Hit *6. Who's got the first question for Dave? Hit *6. Just come on in and fire away with your question.
Hey, Dave.
Yes.
Yeah, I got a question. You sound like you were by yourself.
Is that Heath? Is that Bernie?
Yes.
Which one?
This is
Who's calling?
Bernie Miller.
Okay, Bernie. This is Bernie from Washington, Dave.
Hey, Bernie.
Okay, go ahead, Bernie.
You worked by yourself to start out?
I did. I started off by myself with an old broken folding table and an old laptop and a free IP phone that came from Vonage. Okay, and after a couple of weeks...
Right, I totally relate. Well, give me an idea by yourself as a broker, what would be, for someone doing a decent job, You know, what's a good income? And then once you brought your wife on board, how much did that add to your income?
Yeah, that's a great question, and actually something that we went back and forth over quite a bit because, you know, I was going to go back to a 9-to-5, and we looked at it as I have this general formula, you know, even if you're by yourself, if you can do at least 20 loads a week, you're going to have a decent week. Even if those loads are lousy to mediocre loads, you're going to have a pretty decent week if you can consistently do at least 20 loads a week, which breaks down to, if you want to work a 5-day week, you know, 5 loads a day. And so the way I would look at it was any day I covered at least 5 loads, I had a good day. And if I covered more than that, then great. That cut into what I really needed to hit for my bottom line for the rest of the week. And if it was a little less than that or a lot less than that, then I knew I kind of had to light a fire under my ass and get moving to make sure that my week still kind of closed out with a decent number at the end of it. What that means in terms of money, I mean, kind of depends on what industry you're in and what kind of percentage take you're doing. I mean, when you look at like the LDI leaderboard thing, that gives you a good idea of what kind of the big dogs are doing with their percentages. Like I said, my big account is high volume, low margin. So I don't show up in that bracket, but what we do is have a consistent baseline because of that. So I would say, you know, to try to hit those numbers first, and you won't have any problem with what the income is associated to that if you can concentrate on, because the consistency of being able to close those loads and then doing a good job is going to result in more loads. And more loads means more money coming in. So even if you hit a home run on every load you did for a week, if you never get those loads again, you never get that customer again, then, well, you lost. So for me, when we brought my wife in, I think it was only about 3 or 4 months that I've been doing this, and she was kind of amazed with what I was able to do all by myself. And loved her job, loved her people. She worked with animals, works with horses, and loved all the people she worked with. And I told her, you know, honey, we have a saleable business here, and I need your help. Like, I'm drowning over here. I'm doing 20, sometimes 25 loads by myself. The paperwork is all over the place. I can't, you know, I'm working from 6:30 in the morning until like 8 o'clock at night. I can't leave this seat. You know, I don't know what to do, you know. And so she said, well, but I love these people, you know, and they've been good to us when we needed them. I'm like, yeah, but I'll quadruple your salary this week. And after her being with us only about a month, actually, you know, in the trenches, so to speak, we saw her former job call her and offer to double her salary, let her make her own hours, work from home, and she still had to turn it down. Mm-hmm. So, you know, without getting into specific numbers, it's, you know, I think as long as you have people that within your own organization that you trust with everything, you know, with us, they have that great book that Brian handed out, Start With Why. You know, we named our company after Why, you know, my little girl. And so both of us have that, you know, drive to continue to provide a better life for her than we had, and so that she can hopefully grow to provide a better life for her children, and Dave, so on. But
Dave,
yeah.
Dave, you said 5 loads a day. I mean, you weren't doing 5 loads a day when you just started, were you?
When I started there, I was trying. That was the goal. They were trying to get us to do that. It wasn't all the time. But again, a lot of those loads were
at the other broker.
Yeah, those were double brokered chop loads. Like, you know, we could do 10 or 15 of them sometimes in it.
Right.
Unfortunately, I was very good at it. You know, we were pretending to be drivers. We were doing all kinds of underhanded, unethical. Yeah, I mean, which is why the truth is so important to me now. It's in our mission statement. You know what I mean? It's what we're all about. There's no reason in this business to lie about anything because there's so much of it going on already.
So
and it's helped us to spot a lot of it. Oh, absolutely. We learned the hard way, School of Hard Knocks, but we made a lot of folks upset along the way.
Okay. Hey, Bernie?
Yes, sir.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Yeah, my point is nobody starts off moving 5 loads a day.
Yeah, not usually.
You agree?
No, not usually. Unless you get that customer that's
usually.
just going to come at you with volume right away. You know, you get a produce account and you can do at least that many.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Probably more so.
Yeah, you have to develop the skills, though, first to handle that type of activity. But
so there's a customer that does they're a seasonal customer for pumpkins. They do 3,500 loads in 3 weeks.
Right.
So they can't possibly give all their business to one broker. It would never happen.
Yeah. Are those pumpkins coming out of New York?
No, those are all the way off New Mexico.
Oh, okay,
No.
yeah.
And you can have those
New Mexico,
people.
northern Texas. Okay, all right.
You're probably in with them already. They work with everybody.
Who's got the next question for Dave? Hit *6. Next question for Dave. Hit *6. This many people listening. There's got to be some more questions out there. Let's make this worth Dave's while. Hit *6. While we're waiting for the next question, Dave, anything else that you could think of that you'd like to add to the call today?
I just wanted to say, I think it's tremendous that you do this. It's really nice to have it come full circle, from being that guy searching it out on YouTube because my boss was yelling downstairs that we needed to watch it, to being on the call with you today.
Hey, you bet. Thanks, Dave. Who's got the next question for Dave? It's *6. Do not be bashful. Hey, Dave, anything else you can think of before we wrap this up?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Any last questions before I wrap this up to my listening audience?
You ever take a vacation?
Ever take a vacation? Well, actually, you do. You do
all
take
the time.
vacations.
I mean, it's one of those things where, we work from. That's a really good point. Like, we went right after the Christmas party where I saw you and Maria, Ted. We left right from that party and drove to South Florida and rented a house for a month, and then drove down to the Keys from there. And we did a few weeks in Puerto Rico, and then we just got back from a week in Puerto Rico. We're in the Jersey Shore now. That's one of the biggest gifts of this industry is being able to be mobile. We're kind of working from all over the place, and sometimes you just kind of pull over, or there's always a scratch pad with us.
LDI provides that. I mean, but again, they don't just provide it, and you've got to learn how to use the technology as well.
That's right, and we did have to test it out. I mean, the first time we did it, we did just a couple of days to see, hey, what's this going to be like? We learned a couple of hard lessons. We had the same phone connected to the Bluetooth in the car that we were also trying to check carrier MCs, and so you learn the hard way. But it's one of those things. Now I have a hotspot and a laptop in the car and the phone, and I'm good to go because I can be on hands-free. One person is driving, the other person is covering freight. And if we switch, because my wife is as good as it, if not better at it than I am, then I start driving and she's selling freight. We're always open.
Yeah, it's a process to learn the technology that LDI provides. It's definitely a process. Marie and I have gone through the same growing pains as far as, learning how to utilize this while we're out of the office. But once you learn it, boy, it makes life so much better. It does
it's
allow
great.
you to
We
get
actually, on our way down, we stopped at Disney World, and I had to call a friend of mine. I said, "You're never going to believe this." I said, "We went to Disney World today." I said, "I rented one of those mobility scooters to make into like my little mobile office so I could have stuff in the basket and papers and whatnot. And the phone, I attached the bracket, and every time my wife and daughter would get on one of the rides and the lines, I'd be taking calls. And I said, at the end of the day, after we figured out, after paying for Disney and all the trinkets and everything else, we still came out $500 ahead.
So you
made money at Walt Disney World.
Yeah, you made just your entry fee of what, $300 worth it.
Yeah. Oh, it was
more, it's like $100.
We came out ahead, and crystal tiaras and everything else they got there.
Yeah. Hey, Dave, pleasure having you. If you don't mind, I'm just going to wrap this up. Again, thank you so much for joining us, my freight sales expert guest today, David Tass Rodriguez. We wish you the best in everything that you do now into the future. Dave, for those of you, and just concluding my call today, again, thanks for getting on the call. Any questions, any questions directed specifically to me, or more specifically, are you ready to join our top producing freight sales team? Our meaning mine and Maria's here. Again, we're based out of Pasadena, California, Southern California. Give me a call. Again, my name's Ted Keys, 626-309-9141. David, thanks for joining us. Everybody, thanks for joining us today on my Tuesday conference call. We'll be back again same time next week at 2 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Eastern time. Take care, everyone. God bless. We'll see you all again next week. Take care and
Thanks,
bye-bye.
Ted. Bye-bye.
You've just taken a tremendous step forward by watching and applying my Tuesday conference call highlight. Do you desire to earn and learn with our top freight team and Christian-based office? Yes? We're searching for a self-starter who's serious, motivated, and ready to take action right now. Is that you? Go to tedkeysonline.com/contacts and enter your contact details. We provide top-notch freight agent sales training to you. Then you deliver those same skills with confidence to the freight industry marketplace. I'll talk to you soon.